Pleased to welcome back to the Daily Faceoff Show, Chris Peters, who is leaving on a jet plane soon for Germany. This is another edition of The Next Wave delivered by DoorDash. So, Chris, as I mentioned, you are leaving tomorrow for Germany for the World Under-18 Championships. You were the one guy out there a few months back in your mid-season draft rankings. You did not have Shane Wright in the number one spot. You had Logan Cooley there from the U.S. National Development Program. So, Chris, my question to you is, by the time you come back from Germany, will Shane Wright be in the number one spot on your board?
Well, he's already there now. So, it's kind of interesting. They're after that ranking came out, it kind of went in a different direction for both players. I think Logan Cooley cooled off a bit, no pun intended there. And Shane Wright really took off. The thing is right now, as I've talked to scouts throughout this season and going back to the CHL Top Prospects game, no one's real excited about this draft. No one's real excited about the top of the draft. There's a lot of teams that have lottery protection and everything. They're like, if we lose it, we lose it. Kind of that kind of situation. Shane Wright hasn't necessarily lived up to expectations, but he is still probably the best player in this draft. Logan Cooley, who I will see in Germany, who will be the number one center for Team USA, has a real opportunity here in these next couple of weeks to get himself back on track. I haven't bumped him down as far as some other people have because I know what his top gear looks like, and I think that's probably one of the things that keeps him in that range. You'll also notice Uri Slafkovsky really moved up from my previous ranking. I had him in the top 10, but now he's in the top 3. He had really good performances at the end of the season after coming back from the Olympics, and has continued to play well. Simon Nemec as well is another guy who will not be at the Under-18 Worlds, but is moving up the charts because of a historic season of production in Slovakia's Pro League, and also a dominant performance in the postseason there. His team was knocked out. He did go to the Under-18 Division I championship and only ended up playing in, I think, 2 games there. So he's a really interesting. And then Matthew Savoy, he's kind of hovered around that top 5 all year long. And I'm telling you right now that, there's a lot of people that are saying, hey, this draft it's fine. It's fine. It'll get us some pieces. The lottery looks good. But beyond that, there's not a lot of excitement. Not a lot of people that are just, that even about Shane Wright, is this going to be a situation where he comes into the NHL next season and has, that slow start like Jack Hughes and Alexis Lafreniere and Capo Caco? I mean, those guys are still trying to find their way. Jack Hughes obviously took off this season, but Lafreniere and Caco still trying to find their way a little bit. So I think that's kind of what you're looking at. And, he'll probably be in the NHL next season, but will he be, an impact player? Probably not.
Well, Chris, I'm jealous. I've never been to Europe. So you go into Germany, I really want to see a picture of you with a pretzel the size of your head. That's first and foremost.
That
of
is
this
in the
entire
plans,
trip.
yes.
I need to see that. But beyond that, 18 years old, 17, 18, it's always tough with goaltenders. But it seems like every year there's still a team willing to take somebody in the first, second round, 1 or 2 goaltenders that have that high profile watermark to them. Are there any that we should be keeping our eye on in this tournament?
There are goalies to keep an eye on in this tournament. However, I don't think we're going to see a goaltender go in the top 60 picks this year. I think it's probably the weakest year that I've covered, where the goaltenders just kind of fall way down the boards. And there's always those guys that sneak in. One guy that could potentially sneak in there that we're going to learn a lot more about at the Under-18 Worlds is Topias Leinonen. And he is probably going to be the number 1 goalie for Finland at this tournament. Obviously, we always respect the goaltending that comes out of Finland. He's a big guy, 6'5", played in some pro games this season, but really shined in the U20 league. And so now it's an opportunity for him. Can he carry this Finnish team across, to a medal? Because it's not the strongest Finnish group that we've ever seen in this tournament. Can he be that guy? There's also kind of one of the late rising guys in this draft class is the U.S. goaltender Tyler Musilik, who's committed to the University of New Hampshire. He's been a really solid performer in the second half of the season. Dylan Silverstein, who made the World Junior team, has dealt with injuries and hasn't played much. He's not going to be at the Under-18 World Championship. So this really looks like it's Tyler Musilik's net. And if the U.S. is able to win gold and he has a big performance, that moves him up the boards as well. So it's a weaker year for goaltending. Tyler Brennan, the top goalie, consensus coming into the year, is actually too old for the Under-18s as a 2003 birth year. But beyond that, we're going to learn a lot more about these top European players. We won't have Russia, though. We won't have Belarus. Probably doesn't matter as much in the goaltending department. But this is a situation where these guys have this chance to make an impression in a year where it's wide open as to who could be the number one goalie taken off the board.
So Chris, outside of the lottery position, sort of top 5 or 6 guys, you mentioned that there's not a lot of guys that get teams excited. So does that mean in your eyes that there's a bigger window for teams to select maybe a similar type player? What does the range look like? So is it from like 10 to 50 or 10 to 60 that you might be able to get the similar quality player? How would you size up sort of the tiers in this draft?
Yeah, I think the tiers really starts dropping pretty quickly after the top, 6 or 7 guys. And beyond that, it's probably, you get into that lottery range. You feel like, that 5 to 15 range, 5 to 16, still really good players available there. And then really, I think you're looking like 20 to 60. It could be all over the map. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And you look at different public boards, you talk to teams, there are guys that they say, hey, I think this guy's a top 5 pick. There are teams that might have that guy in the 20 range. That's the kind of disparity that we're talking about in this class. But I do think that in that late first round, there's real high potential for value, as there always is. Guys that maybe would have slipped into the second round in other years that kind of always surprise us. They could make that first round opportunity, here. And I think at the World Under 18s, there's a lot of guys in that range. Sweden has a bunch of them, and Jonathan Lekkerimäki and Noah Ostlund, and guys that have kind of been on the radar as potential first round picks and have fluctuated. Same with the U.S. The U.S. may have as many as 7 players selected in the first round, and just on their roster right now. So that's kind of what we're looking at. It's a very wide range. I think we're all still trying to sort out, the post-pandemic life of scouting and of also what these leagues are doing. Nothing is normal yet. I think next year is going to be that finally normal season, or we hope it's going to be a normal season where you have all the benchmarks of a normal season, which we still didn't have this year.
Yeah, fair point. We're looking forward to seeing you with a pretzel the size of your head, maybe even a beer in a boot, and all your coverage on dailyfaceoff.com. This has been another edition of the Next Wave with Chris Peters. You see the promo codes on the bottom of your screen. DFODD if you're in Canada, DFODDUS if you're in the United States. That gets you 25% off and free delivery on your first order with DoorDash. You don't want to cook? Get a pretzel somewhere. Get it delivered right to your door by DoorDash. Chris, safe travels. We'll talk to you on the other side.